Oh,
Hello. Let's see if we can get this working.
I think you have to.
Oh yeah.
Ask if you want to talk. That is.
Request to talk, I think. Let's see. So Megan is here with me.
And here I am. But I don't.
She's waving
I
at
feel
my
like
phone.
I shut up.
Yeah.
I'm just like my brain is not here yet.
Oh.
Oh, of course.
No. Yeah. Let's see. You mind if should we call you by just Ron or Mr. Corcillo?
How formal should we be?
And if you're okay with profanity or not, because sometimes we can.
I have a tendency of cursing.
Mouths.
It's like aggressive adverbs.
Yeah.
That's how I see them.
But if you wanted to talk, I think you'd have to request to talk.
Of course,
just
they
wait.
will be in and out. Too,
yeah, that's normal. We'll wait for Mr. Conway or JJ Conway to hop in as well.
Man, Mr. JJ Conway.
Yeah, you let us know.
I know.
Megan just goes by Megan and M. Very
Megan
very
M.
original.
Yeah.
Let's see. Whoa, you okay?
There was a spider on me.
No, really? Oh, gross.
Ew.
Oh my gosh.
I felt like little legs. And I'm like, what's happening? And look at my arm, and there's this. It wasn't that big, but it was still gross. So
Sorry, we're just waiting.
I guess. Yeah, we can chill.
Oh, I guess we can introduce ourselves while we're waiting real quick.
You go first.
Sure. This is Emily speaking right now. I am a animator in the game industry, currently working on Monopoly Go as a senior animator. I've been animating as long as I can remember. I think since I saw Lion King as I think when I was 6 or 7, I remember. I just kind of want to do that. That's cool. Those are drawings coming to life, and I just wanted to animate since then. And well, time goes by, and here we are right now.
Yeah.
Long story short. Yeah.
And I'm Meg, and I'm a senior environment 3D artist at Pocket Watch Games, working on Monaco 2. Ooh. And what's up?
Oh, you can't make.
We're just like,
it's okay. No rush. We are in no rush today. Oh, there you go.
Hello.
Okay, now it's connecting. There you go.
Oh no.
And now you're on mute.
I think you have to.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Now can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
There we go.
Awkwardly, I'm just like, okay, we will be formal.
Extremely
yes, you
formal.
can definitely call me Ron. Nobody calls me Mr. anything. And I am 100% fine with all the profanity you want.
Oh shit, that's awesome.
It begins.
It begins.
Yeah, no, like legit.
Yeah, let's get formal to introduce yourself.
Well, even when we first brought up this whole idea, like, hey, let's chat, because it'd be really cool to talk to the OPs, original people.
I don't know, because I've taught before. I love answering questions. I love just teaching, giving feedback, or that's just something I've always loved doing.
I mean, because we worked on so many other projects before with other other artists and creators, and it's always like, I love to hear what people have to say about my work, just so I can grow and also just kind of get a different insight on things. Mm-hmm. But okay, let me go in again.
Should we start over on introductions, or should we wait for JJ Conway?
I heard your introduction is just fine, so that's fine.
Yeah, it should be fine. But yeah, I'm a senior environment 3D artist at Pocket Watch Games. I've been working on games for the last 10 years. I started art back in college because originally I wanted to go for music. Wanted to do soundtracks because I was a first chair oboist.
Wow.
But then again, I was like, it's so clicky, and also a lot of my friends are like, you like drawing a lot, because I would doodle all over my homework and literally beg my teachers to return my homework so I could keep my drawings. And so Yeah, friends were like, "Hey, you like doing art and you like anime, so why don't you try this?"
I have definitely gotten in trouble a lot at school for drawing in class, but you know,
It's
which
like you're
artist
not
haven't? Yeah.
focusing. It's like, oh,
Hold on, I'm trying to. Oh, okay. No sound effects. Cool.
oh
We've
gosh.
had people who joined our spaces who just kept spamming the
Oh my, yeah, they
screaming.
would
Yeah,
just
so I'm like, I want to
scream.
make sure that sound effect board was off.
And that,
So I didn't mean to interrupt you,
yeah,
Megan. Go
but no,
ahead.
that's it
Oh yeah.
basically. But originally I wanted to do graphic novels because I love comics and like manga and graphic novels, and but I had a teacher who was ridiculous in my 3D class because we were required to do 3D, and he was at Crystal Dynamics and he did Tomb Raider, the first one. And he would brag about, oh yeah, I put my art director's face on the crotch of the monsters as a texture. But of course, I got caught because they looked right up that up that area. So of course, internally, I'm like, I want to do that. Here I am.
I think for me, it was really like, well, I didn't know right from the get go that Lion King was created by drawing. I was just more like, as a kid, crying in the theater, seeing all the colors come to life, and afterwards finding out that those were from drawings. I'm just like, whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we are definitely aging ourselves.
Yeah,
here.
but then I grew up in the States, moved to Taiwan, and that was very different for me because Taiwan had a mixture of like cartoons from Japan, from Asia, and a mixture of we had Cartoon Network and Disney shows just kind of mashed into one TV. So I have a lot of like
Different
influences from both sides, and I'm just like I don't know where to pick. And a lot of Simpsons I think is a from the humor side. You know, definitely quoted a lot of Simpsons last night with the Aurora Borealis with my brother because he's up in Seattle. Yeah. Kept asking him if he was making steamed clams.
He's like, Seymour, the kitchen's on fire. But
oh my gosh, yeah,
I'm not gonna do this.
So Megan and I have been working together for over 15 years. So we basically, some folks have referred to us of kind of like the disaster twins. Like she's a lot like Leo, I'm a lot like Donnie. It's kind of weird how it works out. It's funny.
Yeah, the reason why I say I'm not gonna do this is because there are times when we say the exact same thing at the same time, and I'm like, come on, shit, like no, we are not doing this. But
first of all, I really appreciate you for taking the time to talk to us. Like we were like really blown away with the results from yesterday. Like this has been an ongoing project that I think it was back in mid-November. Megan had we were on our way to her parents' house, and Megan had brought up like, yeah, I really want to paint those backgrounds from that deleted scenes.
I'm not really an animator.
And I'm like, I'm an animator. I like those scenes, those deleted scenes. Before we knew it, we just kind of ran into this. Like I gotta admit, this is one of the most ambitious projects that we've worked on. And we decided that.
I mean, I never had this much support, honestly, on the project.
It's been insane.
So of course I'm like, what's happening here? And yesterday was definitely a blur with everything.
And we definitely, we obviously definitely love the franchise or the show. Rise of the TMNT. We actually watched the movie again last night because we hadn't seen it in months since we worked on the project.
Well, honestly, as we were working on the project, we weren't really watching the movie because we're like, we're gonna get so sick and tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. Even though it's like, yeah, it's exciting, but then you get burned out very easily after seeing the same thing. But,
right.
Like we mentioned yesterday, like I have PTSD debris thanks to Kevin.
Well, you guys should know that you are not the only ones with PTSD thanks to Kevin. We used to break the back of Flying Barks animators all the time with this show.
Like, hey, let's do it this way, let's do this and that.
So if you could actually put together a professional animation of one of those boards, that is a hell of an accomplishment. Like it is not easy to do.
No,
and it really looks fantastic. So you guys deserve a lot of credit. We used to have to rank episodes from 1 to 4 based on how hard they were and make sure that, we delivered a 1 next to a 4 so they didn't, we didn't
burn
just
them
crush
out
the
so
studio.
much. Yeah. Well, that was the thing. Looking at the boards, I'm just like, there were so many times. Unfortunately, I was cursing him out. Like, God damn it! How? Why did you go so hard on this? Why do we have to do all this camera shake and everything is all filled? How? And it's like, God, like unfortunately I was cursing him out because I'm just like,
oh, we've had breakdowns.
You did all this on your own, and yet we are trying to figure this shit out on our
It
own.
was like a loving hatred towards Kevin's boards.
It's like, it's so good that it was like, there were so many times there was that sense of imposter syndrome where you're like, I can't do this. I can't do this.
Yeah, definitely.
Or it's not going to look that good. And of course, even still looking at the final, I'm like, there's still things I would want to fix. But, you know, as a creator in general, we're all like, you have to be done. You have to just get it out and be done. Because it's never, ever going to be done if you keep nitpicking every single thing.
Yeah.
I was at a thing with Peter Jackson once where he was doing a panel discussion about Lord of the Rings, and he basically said that like you're never done editing, you just run out of time.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Well, what happened was, like, you know, Megan and I had decided on the deadline because I'm actually going on a trip, and I didn't want this to release while I'm on the trip because I'll just be on my phone the whole time. So we decided on this date, and what was it? We ended up staying, I think, for the past month or two. I mean, this is normal for artists, but like we you know, we both have full-time jobs, but we're working like an extra 7 hours
after work.
Yeah, so we're like staying up till 2 or 3 every night while still having a full-time. And like, I think the end of next week, we're just kind of like, this is no, we can't do this anymore. We're so tired and burnt out.
Well, the thing too is, originally we had wanted to get this done end of March.
We both did. We're like, nope.
Originally. And you know, life just comes up. There's a lot of things that happen, and you have to take that as a priority over like a project. Also, like even physical health, because I had one week where, you know, everyone deals with this carpal tunnel. Great. And I was like, I'm in physical pain, and and I had to get myself an ergonomic pencil holder for my like Apple pen.
I actually stepped on my Apple pen, and
that happened in the middle of the and like legit, Em was just like, I can't work anymore. Like, I have to get a new pen.
Good thing I bought an extra pen.
And it still works, even though
it works. Well, no, now it's completely broken in half. Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
But the thing too is like, so we'd love to have so much time just to focus and polish out as like super high quality to like the degree of the film. But I was like, I need to be realistic. I have other things coming up. It's not going to be perfect no matter what, because my skill set isn't at the par of like 50 other artists here. Like, I can only do so much.
When we first came up with this, not idea, like when we were first like really inspired by, you know, the whole artist community and Kevin's boards, you know, I really wanted to, I was just like, Megan, hey, let's work on this thing. I just want to make like, not me, but like we both agreed on 2 rules. Try to make it as seamless as possible. Stick to the original boards that Kevin did. Like, we added the extra scene, right, where Mikey is teleported in, because like we wanted to stick to the original movie's boards as well. And then 3, make the turtles as angry as possible because they're on their last line. You know, so as I'm drawing, you know, roughing it out, I would show it to Megan. Megan's like, no, make angry. It more, make more, it more angry, more anger, more hate, more hate. So like that one little drawing that Mikey, you know, he like. He's teleported in. Oh, you only see him for like 3 or 4 frames, but I'm like, I don't think he's ever that angry before. It was kind of hard to get like good reference. It was definitely a lot of fun. Like you know, as we finished, you know, wrapping things up, we definitely were like, we understand why moments were deleted, but like how difficult was it to delete those scenes? Or
actually,
to cut them out?
Like actual cut.
Yeah,
work it out.
Well, certainly wasn't my decision. That's an Aunt and Andy thing. Like I was, but not actually part of it by that time because we had done the writing part of it months before this, even years. But the the ongoing battle with this show was always getting things down to time. I mean, it's so hard,
right?
Particularly the 11-minute episodes, which you know, you're trying to jam in all this action and all this comedy and tell a story in 11 minutes, really 10 minutes and 45 seconds. Yeah. It is very hard to do. So we always had to make painful decisions. And then even the movie is on a very tight, you know, set 88-minute time frame. So like that's all you get, and you have to stick to that. I mean, nowadays with streaming, it's less strict because there aren't those, you know, preset commercial breaks that there always are on network TV. But you still have to stick to time, especially in animation, because every minute that you animate costs you money. So if you have
it's on the budget.
So you have to make those choices. And there's, you know, there was always tons of stuff that had to get cut. We would have Animax that would come in at 18 minutes and have this slash all this stuff. And you know, it's always painful.
Oh,
I feel like, yeah, it's like, you want to get in all this information and it's so hard. You're like, you add all that detail to like, here's all this action and how it breaks down. But
Right.
then unfortunately, yes, you have to work out with like the money, the marketing and publishers and be like,
Yeah.
well, okay, well, I know you want to do all this, but can we condense it to this moment?
Yeah.
At least. So
I am really glad that Kevin kept the sports because, like, when I saw it, I'm just like, holy crap! Each turtle gets their moments. It's very inspiring. But it's like, yeah, no, that's a lot to push in into just a few minutes because, like, we did our timing and we figured, like, I think Kevin's board added an extra like a minute and 12 seconds or something like that. But
yeah.
even that alone, it was just like it was incredible how much was going on. Like, um, the first thing I noticed was, when Donnie's swinging his bow, there's one frame where his bow turns into like an actual fist to punch the crane. We're just like little details like that. It was really cool. I really enjoyed just breaking it, and, like dissecting the scenes and
And
seeing
of
how
course,
he
there's
gets
like a
done.
lot of reference from other animated movies or shows,
Yeah.
or even like just movies in general that you can't realize. You're like, holy, that's totally Eva.
I was curious because there are quite a bit of Evangelion references. Is that from you? Or was that an artistic choice?
Every the artist put in so much stuff, and in fact, at one point, Carl, who was one of our lead designers, was we found out that he had a whole secret canon in his head. They were all putting in backgrounds and stuff, which I still don't know what it is. But there's this whole other canon that they worked out that's in there in Easter eggs, and I don't even know what all of it is. I hope they reveal it someday. But yeah, that's all artist stuff. They throw in so much reference to animes and reference to so many different things.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, because like there's this one part where Crane
the Sister
Prime,
Crane.
he
Yeah.
goes, no, Crane goes, oh yeah, Sister Crane.
Yeah, with Sister Crane, the way she was, she wasn't axed off it when all the pillars came to skewer her. I'm like, that's from a very dark moment in Evangelion that I don't think any children should watch.
It's like this is actually a very messed up portion of that
kids,
series.
don't look up where this is from.
No.
I mean, I grew up watching Evangelion. I'm also like,
she's messed up too.
Yeah, I've turned off the TV at a few points and ran off screen because my brother's like, you can watch the show, but don't watch past episode. I think it was 16 or 17, and I'm like, okay, and I still watched it, and yeah, that was a mistake, big mistake.
Yeah. Well, I'll see even in the show too. There's like TMNT, Terminator with TMT, Terminator 2.
Oh yeah, that one little run cycle. What's his name? Oh my gosh, the Mantis.
Mantis.
Was it just Mantis? Mantis?
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, this is from the show. There's like one little.
That's from the
yes,
show,
the way he's running, it looked a lot like Terminator 2.
I was just like, there's a lot of callbacks to my generation here. I'm like feeling called out here. But yeah, you said that you guys would start writing in like years in advance before even the movie went into production. Is that like normal for like any like film or animation process?
Animated films go through a lot of changes through the whole production process. This one, so production, I mean, writing on this started when we were still working on the show, and Tony was a story editor, and Becky was his wife and partner. Were working on the script separately. There was a different director attached at that point. There was, I think, a whole animatic, or at least a whole storyboard that was done of the first version.
Oh.
And then that got totally tossed when we finished all the boarding of the show. The show was still, animation was still being produced, but all the writing and boarding was done around December of 2019.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's when Ant and Andy got put in charge of the movie. They were involved with the movie, but they weren't directing it because of the show. So they took over in like early 2020, basically, and at that point, basically, that whole first version was tossed. And I mean, it wasn't a complete rewrite, but that's when Russ and I and some of the other writers helped Tony and Becky break the story again. And then there was a script done. That's, in like the spring of 2020. And I don't think boarding on that really started until around like May or June of 2020.
Oh my God.
Then that went through a whole lot of changes too.
Yeah.
And there's rewrites that happened during the boarding process. And Russ and I weren't really a part of that. That was all Tony and Becky pretty much. And JJ and Kevin at that point were the heads of story. So they were doing the storyboards and all that stuff. And a lot changed. So by the time we actually saw the movie, I could barely even remember what. At one point, I remember Tony coming up to me and saying, "Oh, there's this joke of yours in there that I really love," and I didn't even writing it. In fact, I don't even remember what the joke is.
You're like, oh wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff. Just, I mean, that's the thing about writing for animation is it is so long between when you write it and when it actually you can actually
finish.
So,
have anybody see it.
did they ever reveal what that joke was that you had?
He did. I can't remember though. he told me at the time.
Oh, I guess I'll have to watch the movie again.
Yeah, I'll look back and I can probably figure it out. But yeah, that's what it's like. I mean, it's even just like the end of when we wrote the last few episodes of the series where where we did the big series finale.
Yeah.
That is all just a blur to me because we wrote that all so fast. We realized that our order had been cut short and we had to wrap up the whole story in like 4 episodes. And that was it's just a blur. I don't even remember how we wrote it. When I finally saw it, I was like, wow, did we write all that? And I had to look back at the script and see them exactly the same. Like,
well, I gotta say, the first time, we have a request. Oh no, no.
Sorry, we're still having it for like a little.
Yeah, we're still waiting for JJ Conway. I don't know if he's still doing house tours.
He's adulting right now.
Sorry. What was I at?
But everything being a blur with that. That's actually pretty legit.
I was gonna say that the first time May and I had watched the show, just that little scene of them. Of course, everyone probably talks about them when they got their weapons again. I think we just kind of. I don't know. We're really mind blown. Like, oh, I forgot they had these weapons that they're iconic for. Yeah, that was definitely a moment that them fighting Shredder, just going through it frame by frame. It's such a blessing to just see because I animate stuff, but I don't animate a lot of action scenes. So just going through them frame by frame, it's super inspiring and just like man, there's always space to improve, your own work, whether it's writing, illustrating for Megan, animation for just every portion. Well,
I mean, like we get inspired by other animations, honestly, and projects. Because like I haven't really done this much fan work ever before. This is like the first time I was like, oh, I really kind of like this. This is kind of cool. What is wrong with me? Like, I mean, I grew up with TMNT,
right?
But there was such a gap from like the newer series. Like I didn't actually get caught into like 2012 or 2003, but I was the 1987 family.
Yeah, I started with the video games and I never got past like level 2 because it's really difficult.
But yeah, like when I say like it's kind of crazy how much I got so involved in it is that we started helping out with reanimates with like younger generation people who actually grew up with this one,
right,
and on top of that too, like I'm doing reanimates, but I'm also doing 3D work
for
it because I'm sorry to say those toys and figures are not really pretty looking. It's just like
they're all moldy by now.
It's like what happened to your face and your proportions? So of course, like turning down that route too, it just kind of shows like, well, like with any fan base, any series or shows, it can inspire for a lot of different like outlets.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But like talking about inspiration, like what actually inspires you for your writing? Like, do you look at movies or do you actually like from reading like books or stuff like that?
Or like your favorite written movie or your favorite
favorite
film? Yeah.
It's both movies and TV, both. And it's everything. It's all different kinds of shows. Whether it's animated shows or just sitcoms or Avengers movies or all of it. It's all inspiration. I think Russ and I primarily are comedy guys first. So a lot of our inspiration is just like old sitcoms and things like that.
Nice.
Old great comedy bits and stuff like that. But I love a good superhero movie. Any of them. So exactly what you'd expect, pretty much.
Yeah, just whatever like sparks, right?
Yeah, I was like, you're really punny. That's why I was.
See, this is why I say she's more like Leo. Every time she does a pun, I just kind of glare at her, like, no, you don't do that.
We tried to avoid puns. We were once badly chastised in our first animation job for doing too many puns.
No.
Yeah, so we and then we established a pun jar, and anytime anybody made a bad pun, they had to pay money in.
Come on. Where's the fun in that?
Pay up.
I was just gonna say that's too punishing.
Make it no.
We do have these really complicated wordplay jokes that we like to do, restaurant Ron jokes, where we get really, really weird with wordplay. But I remember there's an episode called Pizza Puffs.
Yes,
Um,
we love that one. Yeah.
you know the one, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a scene where they discover, Beach West has made these pizza puffs that have this like mystic poison. And there's this scene where they figure that one of the ingredients came from this Swedish bakery.
Yeah.
And so they go to the Swedish bakery and Leo goes in to question the baker. We had this whole bit that we cut because we knew there would never be room for it, where he goes up to the guy at the Swedish bakery and he says, "So you're a Swedish baker?" He goes, "Oh no, I'm not Swedish. That's just my name. My name is Swedish." He's like, "Oh, your last name is Swedish?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm Dutch Swedish." And they're like, "You're Dutch Swedish? Yeah, and you bake Danishes?"
And
And he's like, "Yeah, I'm Dutch
does,
Swedish, the Danish baker.
does,
But I'm actually German."
now
So
was
wait, you're
that a
Dutch
Ben
Swedish, the German
Schwartz?
Danish baker. And he's like, "Yeah, where are you from?" I'm from Paris. Paris, Texas. Yeah, so you're Dutch Swedish,
Oh
the
my
German
god.
Danish baker
You
from
know,
Paris, Texas.
that would just gone over everyone's head.
That would have been the rest of the episode, honestly.
And everyone's just like, what?
That's the thing, is it was like a page long, and we were like,
Oh my
no,
god.
no, we can't do this. So we did.
I was just gonna be like, that's really crunchy because it's
Man.
Dutch crunchy.
Stop. No, I'm not doing this for show. I legitimately, once in a while I do make a good pun, and I'm like, yes, I got it. And I'm like, you gotta be honest, man. She's glaring at me.
I wonder. Wait, I'm trying to remember the last.
I can't remember the last.
The last one, you were so proud. You were preening. You were like, oh, look at me, I did it. And I was just like, okay, good for you.
Yes, you win. Here's a gold sticker. Go frame it on the wall. No, because I know that recently came up with someone else's tweet about what was it? Ben Schwartz. He kind of like improved or didn't improv that part where he walks into the store. Were there a lot of other moments where Ben Schwartz just kind of like went off hinge and?
I feel like a lot of the actors would,
yeah,
in general, but
All the actors would occasionally just do something, totally ad lib. Josh Brenner would do it a lot, but they all did, and we would sometimes do a just a like screw around pass where they would do whatever they want to. There were some great ones. You know what was one of my favorites was there's this moment. It's in the season 1 finale episode where Splitter basically tells the boys, "I never should have tried to change you. I should have let you be who you are." And they do this like big group hug, and everybody goes, "I don't normally feel things, but that one got through."
Oh,
yeah,
that was improv. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm like,
So
I can see that.
yeah, there's a few of those. So, but unfortunately, one of the bad things is, again, the thing with the time. A lot of times, some of the best improvs ended up getting cut just because there wasn't room. Like,
yeah, of course.
You sacrifice a lot of stuff that way. But yeah, they are all really good at it.
You know what? Speaking of like improv, one of my favorite. Well, we are going to see Ben Schwartz in August for his live show because we went to it last year. Oh my gosh, he's hilarious.
It was interesting.
It was very fun. Like if he told you what happened, not like it is improv. No one would get it unless you were there.
It was about St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, why did we ask about how St. Patrick's Day?
Everyone got drunk.
Every time now I started getting drunk.
But what else? Thinking about like with ad-libs, some of my favorite moments in any show is when an actor or actress accidentally breaks character and they burst out laughing, but they keep it in the final cut. And it's always.
It feels a little bit more genuine.
It's just the most like genuine laugh, that you can get, and then they're like, "Nah, let's keep it in the movie."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, let's see.
We had to write notes because internally I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to be talking about? Like, I don't like talking about myself here.
No,
so what am I supposed to do? But like with writing out, like, do you actually have to write out like the script, like what the actors are saying, or is it just?
Yeah. Yeah, you write a full script, just like any other show. I mean, there are some animated shows that are board driven, which means you just write an outline and then the board fill in a lot of the dialogue.
Gotcha.
But for a script driven show, which Rise of TMNT was, you write a full script just like you would for any TV show. You record the voice first, and then you do a dialogue edit, which means you cut together the whole. You make like a radio play of the show basically, and you give that the script to the artist, and then and then that's when the storyboarding starts. And then stuff changes as it's recorded, and you end up having to go back and record new dialogue for stuff that you changed and so on.
Yeah, make it fit better and actually work with timing.
Right.
Sorry to interrupt this. Oh, sorry. Actually, go ahead. Yep.
But yeah, I mean that's basically it. So it's a full script just like anything else, and some things change more than others.
Sorry to segue. Real quick segue. We have a question from someone. My eyes don't even work anymore. I'm staring at the screen for too long. The Flesh W. They asked to you, Mr. Ron Corcillo, what do you think killed the Krang in the prison dimension?
Because there's dead floating bodies in here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Time. I would think like time.
yeah, I would think probably just time.
Yeah, they said they were there for thousands of years.
I thought about that last night when we were watching. I'm like, did it kill each other until 3 were left, or
Yeah, it's like the whole story about
survival of the fittest.
No, there's this Japanese fable of like a parasite within a jar or ghosts in a jar, and they eat each other until the strongest one lives or survives. There's actual folklore.
There's no reason to think that wouldn't be the attitude of the Krang, right?
Yeah, I would think so too.
And the Krang's like, you know what? I want a sister and a brother, so you two live.
Yeah,
right?
I'm kind of lonely. I don't want to be by myself, talking to myself all the time. But yeah, no. The reason I was asking about the writing part is just because with like game design, writing normally comes down to like here are these key moments that we want within a story or like the framework of the game. And if there is some dialogue, sure, but it's not like super. Well, and then I guess if there's some cinematics, but it really is all about like how does it relate to the gameplay itself. So of course there's that difference between actual animation, like within film and shows, to games. And also I guess production timeline is so different too because we do it in parallel.
Yeah, our working as a game animator or artist for both of us, the pipeline is definitely different.
It is very different. Because we would be working on parallel with the writers as we're creating content. Though sometimes there are studios that are very, very efficient about like, no, let's get things written out and get pre-production stuff worked out first before anyone touches it, because then that might create like less confusion on it.
I got I'll do questions at the end. Yeah, I'll do questions at the end.
I mean, that's why you do a script first on a script-driven show. Is you want to make sure you have the whole story laid out and figured out so that you're not boarding stuff that's just going to end up getting cut.
Yeah.
The idea is to keep it, as close as possible. So boarding is the labor-intensive part of the process. So it's got to be done as efficiently as possible.
Right, and of course, like we mentioned before, within the time frame, right? Of
I mean,
14-minute episode or
11 or 10. 45. But like it really does kind of come down to like, let's make sure we get all the nitty gritty out of the way, making sure we can fit time. And then do you normally like tend to write more like fluff in the beginning and then you cut from that? Or is it like, actually, no, I feel like I just answered my own question today.
I mean, whenever you write a script, you always do a lot of cutting. That's always a big part of the process. But once you've done this for a while, you realize you just don't have time to mess around at the beginning of the script. Like our basic rule of thumb is on the bottom of page 1, you know what they want. And on the bottom of page 2, you know what they're going to do to get it. Like you have to, in an 11-minute, you have to get into the story fast. In a movie, you have a little more time to play with stuff, but you would not believe how much stuff was cut from the original version of that movie. I mean, originally there was a whole huge sequence of a battle in the headquarters of the rebels who are fighting against the Krang. The Krang, they invade their headquarters. There's a whole battle. Leo and Mikey and Casey barely escaped. April was in it. There was a whole thing. And they had to cut it down to just what you see, that scene of Casey running and Leo and Casey realizing all is lost and Mikey's got to send it back. It's so much shorter. The original sequence was really amazing. But yeah, those are those painful decisions. You got to get into the story fast.
Yeah.
We had a really long bit with Warren and Hinton in the beginning of the when they're back in time with them breaking in and stealing the thing that's gonna bring the Krang in. That it was really funny, but it was like a whole Mission Impossible thing.
Gosh.
But you don't have room for that stuff.
No.
We actually, I don't know if you've heard of it, but we actually do have a site. Well, not us. We are part of a project that we are reanimating that those intro boards.
Where it's actually being fought inside the
the headquarters with the karaoke.
Space,
Leo say like, okay, maybe one night for karaoke or.
I guess it's a little bit different.
There's a side project unless you're talking about other boards because we do. It
sounds like this is another board.
Maybe it's a different one. Yeah.
So that means there's been a lot of different iterations.
Of course, like iterations. Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Now Emily's just like, wait, what?
Let's see. I know there are so many episodes that you've gone through. Like, what has been the most ambitious, I guess, character moment for you? Because you know the rise of the TMT, it has a lot to do with like it's very family oriented. I feel like. What were some parts that were like the most difficult, or some topics that you really
want to
like,
have put in?
Yeah.
I guess.
You mean in terms of like how the characters relate to each other? And are you asking about stuff that we would have done, or stuff that we did do?
Like more explorations, because I one that sticks out to me is how Donnie, you know, and kind of have like, you know, father issues with Splinter, and you know that was kind of dived into. I forgot what the episode was called. It was during a car race one. Not car race, but
yeah.
So like stuff like that, like it really hits home, because like a lot of people can be dealing with issues like that. So were there other like family oriented topics that you would want to have like write in for these characters, or like never got to?
One thing that we never did that I remember somebody pointed out at some point was we never had a Raph and Donnie episode.
Oh
yeah.
And it was crazy. I mean, we paired up all the other ones, and we got to see their relationships in so many different ways. But we never did one with Raph and Donnie, and I really wish we had done that. To really kind of get into and also just how does Donnie accept Raph being kind of the boss when Donnie is so smart and so arrogant?
Yes.
Would have been something to get into. We really could have had a lot of fun with that. And Raph is very kind of protective with the other brothers, especially Mikey, but even Leo too. It'd be interesting to see, like, does he feel the same way about Donnie, because Donnie's so independent, you know?
Yeah.
Interesting. I never thought of it that way.
It kind of gives me the impression that Raph would respect Donnie's space a bit more, because I mean, there's a lot of times when he's like, this is not like the movie. I'm sorry, I'm quoting the movie.
It's not a hug.
It's not a hug. It's a rescue, because he respects that. He's like, I'm not really a hugger.
Fully embracing him.
But also, like Donnie is basically, he is the most independent out of everyone. Which, I mean, it feels like he actually had a lot more screen time in this series compared to others, or at least like I felt like he's getting a lot more love and attention, and showing that he's very intellectual, but also, you know, he has faults and weaknesses like everyone else.
All the characters do,
everyone has those issues, but I feel like a lot of the characters, the guys have been developed much more. And
I really enjoy it for that.
And of course there are other generations that did not enjoy the changes and everything, but then again, I'm like, you know, it feels like it kind of relates more.
Change is always a thing that'll happen, and like, you know, whether you like it or not, that's honestly their own take. You know, to be honest, when I first saw it, I was like, this is a different design, it's a different take, let's watch it. And I think what really got me sold was the fact that they're all different breeds of turtles, and I was like, that is such,
like, I know
that was such a
genius
idea. That was such a genius idea, to have their breed of turtle go into how they are characteristically, you know, like it just made a lot of sense.
Again, we did get flack about that, because people were like, wait, that means they're not really brothers. And it's like,
you don't have to.
So adopted people aren't brothers? Is that what you're saying? Like,
I thought of that too. I'm like, no, they're still brothers, they're still siblings. It doesn't matter if they're different. Like,
I mean, Megan and I, actually, fun little side thing. Megan and I, we've known each other since college, but before I moved to Taiwan, we found out in college that her brother was in my third grade class when I was in the States. Well, I hope that made sense. Basically, it's a small world. It's a really small world. Yeah.
But then, since then, since we've been friends, you know, known each other, my family's like, my mom's like, my Taiwanese daughter.
I adopt you now. Voluntarily.
And I'm the American daughter for her family. So it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Because like
family.
Idea too, it's like April's part of the group too. It's family dynamic. It's definitely the big sister here, where she's like, I don't give up. I don't put up with your shit. Like, I'm done with everything here. But,
and I do wish we'd gotten to do more with April also, and especially with like April and Sunita, or April and Cassandra. Like, we could have done a lot more with them, but we didn't have time.
No, that's fine. I mean, it kind of just relates to everything. Like with any project, it's like, well, you know, we could do it, but you know, we just have to get what we need out first than anything.
I have a. I mean, it's all Q&A, but do you have future advice? Because like Megan and I, you know, we finished this ambitious project. Do you have any advice that you would, like, any takeaways that you would give from based off of the video, or you know, the artwork and whatnot? Like any critique?
Oh wow, are you asking me to critique you? No. No. You can ask JJ that question if you want. I don't think he's going to have anything negative to say. You guys do a fantastic job, but I'm certainly not going to do that. No way. You guys did things that I could never do. So.
That was like the most legit reaction, like, wait, what? You wanted to critique it? You're like, don't ask me. I don't know.
No, knowing how hard it is to do what you guys did with just two people, you know, considering the crew that would have been on that, there's no way I've got anything to say needs improvement on.
Well, the thing too, like as we're working on this as well, I'm like, maybe they cut it because you feel bad for the Crane.
Yeah, you know,
throughout the
I
whole
was gonna say
time.
that because like I have this, I kind of gave Krang the old school voice as I'm animating it, and all it is
Wait,
is
what's his skull?
Huh?
The character you were
Krang.
No, Crane, but the voice.
Oh, Skeletor from
Skeletor.
He-Man. So as I'm animating it, the whole time I'm animating Craig, it's all fuck shit. God damn it! Like, give me a fucking break. And like the more I'm doing that, I'm just kind of like, I am so sorry.
I actually feel bad for you. Like you're getting your ass kicked majorly right now.
I'm so bad for him. And I'm just like, you know, you first watch the movie, you're really like, you know, rooting to get him out of the dimension. But you watch, you know, after drawing him so many times, I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I want to give you a hug.
God. His style is so, I don't know.
He's so much fun to draw. Like,
he's like a soft serve ice cream, like swirly.
Oh yeah, I could not figure out his shoulder pads. I'm like, are they soft serve ice cream or sharp shoulder pad? Like,
so there's a lot of like breakdowns. Like, how do we do this? How do we make him read?
It was definitely a lot of fun.
Because also, like when I had to do a render shot of him, I'm just like, is he gum?
Oh yeah, that was all Megan.
Is he made out of gum or something else?
That whole shot, that one shot with him just standing there,
with the
smoke. I had to draw him out for Megan, but Megan did. To bring it down, Megan did all the smoke effect animations, and I did most of the mystic affections. VFX, yeah.
You're like,
effects. There you go.
Are you taking offense to your effects?
I know. I realized we do have a typo in the beginning. We wrote, "This fan project is no way afflicted with the brand." We're like, no, I meant affiliated. Typos happen.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're sleep deprived.
Yeah, oops.
Which also relates. I remember we saw.
Oh my gosh! Last night.
No. We had seen that you had liked a comment about us staying up till like 3 a.m. And internally, I'm just like, he's just laughing at us like from suffering. He loves to see us suffer. And then last night, I saw your message to me at 3, and I'm like, no, he's awake. Wait,
you're no different.
Like, what is this? Like, come on. I don't go to bed this late normally. Like,
I do because I'm playing games.
But yeah.
I do keep strange hours. That is true. Sorry.
No. It's totally fine.
No.
But I was just like, he's laughing at us. He's liking us suffer. Like, come on. I'm like, we are suffering through this. But no, it was like
it's like a good pain. Like I won't post a video because it's like cringy when I hear about it, but we do have a recording of us watching the whole thing for the first time when the whole thing was finished, and we actually just broke down crying.
Not like sobbing, okay?
Crying, but we were just like
it's kind of
just screaming, and we're so happy, and like, and so, you know, the Frodo gif, you know, it's over, but like also a lot of like, we're gonna miss this, you know. Even just last night, I was like, wait, I have another scene to do, but I can't because it's online already. So it was really hard to get over.
It's like phantom pains.
Yeah,
like,
I guess so.
Wait, I should be drawing this right now. I should be painting this. But then I'm like, wait, no, it's done. It's all done. I don't have to be doing anything else. But no, it's just, you know, I guess like having you guys kind of like and support the posts that we have been putting up.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, okay, we're actually like doing something that people might like.
We can't express how much like just the little, you know, I read the tweets that you post, not like stalkingly, but like, you know, they show up on a timeline, but like everything just, it's all inspiring. The work that you guys have done for the show has inspired us to just like, you know what, we want to see this colored. Let's work and ambitiously get it done, and
bust your asses on it.
Just every little support that you guys have, that you and JJ and even Jeremy, I guess is just yeah, he Jermaine, yeah, he just, and Kevin himself, we're just like, thank you so much for supporting. You know, this show had actually broke my 2-year art block, and I think a lot of artists, I can speak for them, have said the same thing. Like, they couldn't draw for the longest time, but because of the show, they were able to draw again, and they were just incredibly fortunate to just be inspired.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing to hear. So many people do say things like that about how this show like really turned them around in huge ways, saved their lives, and
wow.
it's kind of amazing. And I don't exactly know how that's the case, but I guess it's just there's a lot of love that went into it. We, Ant and Andy were very democratic in the way they would run things. Which, I mean, sometimes could make things tough because, you'd have disagreements that had to get worked out. But what they did do very well was give everybody ownership of their part of the show. And so everybody feels like they had a big part in creating this. And that makes them very attached. And that's why you see so much effort put in to so many things, so much time, and so much, just everybody demanded excellence of themselves. And I think that's why people do love the show so much. I think they feel that.
Yeah, you definitely do get that feel of like energy and like that sense of like, actually I'm putting a lot of my own heart and soul into this.
Yeah, it's definitely like there are a lot of great animated shows right now too, but like this one really stuck out for me because like it kind of showed like, hey, 2D animation is still alive. Nothing wrong with 3D, but I do miss just 2D animation. The story was very well fleshed out. Every character is distinguishable, like with just the like, almost episodic episodes.
Yeah, and then the humor actually was pretty fun too.
Yeah,
because I'm just like, okay, like that. And then of course there are times when we quote without knowing, and we're like,
it just kind of happens. Yeah,
like, geez, what the hell? But no, I guess like it's very inspiring, and of course, if it wasn't inspiring,
JJ just said he's gonna try jumping on.
Oh, great.
Let's see.
And I think
hopefully you can figure out how to work his mic faster than I did.
Yeah, at first I was like, oh no, I guess it's not gonna talk. No, just messing with you.
Yeah. Wait, what? Oh no, never mind. That's just I saw something else. I was like, what's going on?
Oh no, it's all good.
But no, honestly, it's just I think with any sort of project or any like creative aspect of like animation or storytelling, like if you have the passion for it, it really just comes through too, and people recognize that and get affected positively by it.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a bit of a labor of love. And we grew very, very attached to the characters. The actors were so great, and we got to know the actors so well, and we would put a little bit of the actors into every character. I mean, we always, just an example we always give is, Brandon Michael Smith, who played Mikey, loves to hug people. Every time you see him, you get a hug. And so we made Mikey a big hugger. And on the other hand, Josh Brenner doesn't really like to touch people much. So Donnie is very not a touchy guy. So like, just those little things are in there, and that all just grew out of the whole collaboration of the whole thing.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, like there was references from Sonic, and
like
Ben Schwartz did Sonic's voice, so I'm just like, okay, I guess we'll just bring that in there for the animation style too. But also his attitude and personality is like that, so I'm like, yeah, that's Leo, that's how he is, and everyone else, like, it's just they are the character, or the character
become the character
basically. So that was really nice at how it all blended in really well.
I guess
we even threw in one or two references to CSI Miami because Omar, who plays Raph, was on that show.
Oh my goodness. I did not know that.
Yeah, so there's a couple of those in there too.
If someone actually had seen the show and watched this one and be like, wait a minute, like, I know where that's coming from. Jeez.
I guess well, while we're waiting for JJ, someone Galactic Kid wrote, I'd love to hear about what it's like balancing drama and comedy. And Rise, they're learning boarding and screenwriting, and always admired that visual and written balance.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, the most important thing is for every episode, you have to have a character story. So you have to have some way that one of your characters is going to grow through the course of that episode. And the thing to understand is that both drama and comedy are about putting a character in a situation that's going to push their emotional buttons. And you can play that for laughs, or you can play that for drama. And at times you do one or the other or both. So usually early in the script is when we're getting a lot of laughs out of what's happening to the characters, but usually there's that moment towards the end where they come to a real, actual personal realization. And that's when it gets more serious. And if you've laid the groundwork right, and if you know your characters really well, you can pull that off, because life's like that. Right. So you can do that in this story too. You really have to know your characters and what's going to push their buttons. That's the key. It's the key to all dramatic writing.
Yeah, I actually didn't think about that balance, because that you can't actually have both at the same like amount, because then it's just going to be conflicting and it won't really work well to develop like what is like the growth of that character.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, JJ.
Hey,
There he
hey.
is. Hey, JJ, how you
Doing
doing?
all right. It's a beautiful day in Burbank, so I'm out taking a walk.
Oh,
We were like,
Nice.
it's really windy.
thank you so much for joining. We were just like kind of floored with all the responses yesterday, and we were telling Ron earlier how much your work has inspired us to just grow more as artists, and
And
just
of course, I
really,
really appreciate it all, honestly. So,
Oh, thank you. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, seeing the amount of work that somebody would put into a project like that is pretty humbling. Even though it wasn't even my section that got animated, just seeing that
sorry.
the devotion that no, I mean like not just like seeing obviously like how inspired you were to embark on such a crazy endeavor is it's humbling to have even been a part of something like that.
we were telling Ron earlier how we both now have debris PTSD because of how Kevin boarded. Yeah, we're just like, Kevin, you went so hard on these boards. It's amazing, but God, like God damn
Come
it.
on. I was like,
So like at what point did you guys realize, like once you started, like, oh boy, this is gonna be a lot of work?
we already kind of knew it was going to be a lot of work, because even when I proposed the idea, as soon as the words left my mouth, I'm just like, oh no.
What am I thinking?
We're
Because
going to
you're
do
both
this.
you both do work for it's like a small game studio, right? Like a mobile game studio.
Emily works at.
I currently work on Monopoly Go as a senior animator, but I've worked on several games before, primarily in the game industry, but I also do short films, short animations on the side.
And I'm a senior environment 3D artist for an indie game studio, Pocket Watch Games, working on the Monaco 2 game. And I've been an art director and a 3D lead for previous companies. So, well, just games, but then study animation for film.
Yeah, we both worked with each other for over 15 years. And I think the part that really made me hit that, like, oh, this is going to be difficult was honestly just while roughing it out. The first scene I roughed out was that first shot with Krang and Donnie. And I noticed that there was one frame where his bow turns into a fist just to punch Krang. Just the one frame. And I'm like, really? That's in there? Like, come on. And after like spending days just roughing it out, I'm like, oh, it looks cool. Oh my god, there's 33 more scenes left.
And there was this one scene that you were terrified about doing, and that was all the rockets and him flying through the air.
Is that the Itano Circus one?
It was the one where Krang's falling and all the
buildings and everything.
Yeah.
That one took, I think, 2 weeks to rough out and finish to color.
Yeah.
And it took us 7 days just to composite because it was
7 days to composite.
To put it in blunt words, it was pissing me off.
Because the thing that Kevin did was he had opacity on the debris, so it was never really clear which ring is this debris on, what group is this part of, and how exactly is it timing. And it had only took me 3 days to actually paint all of that, but which actually that's not that bad. It was fine.
It was fast.
It was a quick turnaround at least, but I was going to approach the panning of the building very different.
Yeah, so Megan was like, hey, I'm going to give you this really long building asset for you to pan. I just told her, no. Give me 3 windows, looping window animation, and I'll take care of the rest. So you asked us yesterday what was the biggest challenge, and for us, it was just learning how we worked.
Or break down
how we break down things. So, like, I took her advice, trusted her ways of breaking assets down, and then, vice versa with animation and compositing. So we both just really had to work off each other on that. Like, there are times where, as we're compositing, we're literally sitting together on the couch. I'm compositing away. She's airdropping all these assets over, and I would just go, hey, this asset's too dark or too bright. You're gonna have to lighten it a little bit or whatnot to make it feel good. So
and then we actually primarily just use Procreate for everything.
Yeah, we animated everything in Procreate.
Oh wow! I was actually gonna ask what you used.
Yeah. That's
wow.
Well, Emma had just lost a job unfortunately, at the beginning of this project. And
well, you got a crazy demo reel now. Jeez.
yeah, I know. And then she's working for real. Well, like for real. Not for real. All the time. But no, we did it primarily in Procreate because it's just nice to be able to I can bring my iPad anywhere and work on it. And I'm not an Apple user generally, so that was I could do AirDrop to my laptop. So at least she has everything she needs. Despite we had issues even with that. It's why is it not taking?
Yeah, there were days when my computer just didn't want to work. It was just too tired.
Well, because also I think our largest scene I had to paint was 4588 by 2400 or something.
Oh my god!
Huge.
And I think it was just for the background.
And it was just for the background, just because of how much the camera moved.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing. I kept cursing Kevin. I was just like, "What the fuck? Why? Why do you move this much?"
That guy is a beast. I don't know how he did it. It was just.
Well, I mean, in general.
Well, you kind of do though, because you guys had to figure out how he did it.
Yeah.
It's someone asked me last night, how do you do the camera pans? I'm like, well, I had to painfully stabilize them, paint over it, and redo the unstabilization.
Oh yeah.
Wait. So you took a shot that had cam shake. You had manually stabilized it so that you could get the layout.
Yes.
Paint it, and then recreate all of that complex camera movement on top of it.
Yes.
Wow. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Yeah, that's normal. That's fine. It's really cool. But
I have all my files in CSP.
Wow, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, I legit was just what? I haven't done anything with this much movement or action as for environment and with effects.
Yeah.
Because I was just there's a lot of debris and particles and smoke and explosions going on here. And
it's Megan, that debris is cut in half. You're gonna have to paint in the whole thing. For one frame, it cuts off the screen.
It's I didn't extend it, and then we'll deal with issues where it's changed the scale of the image.
Yeah.
Crap! I have to move everything, readjust it all completely.
Yeah. How long did it take you? It was just the two of you, right?
Yeah.
It was just two. Well, we had a friend who jumped in for one background, and then she was like, "All right, I gotta work on my portfolio. Bye." we did have another animator to help us out, but unfortunately things wasn't working out. So I ended up, because our primary goal was to make it kind of seamless to to what the final movie looked like. And with our tools, obviously we didn't have that blur kind of feel.
We had to kind of cheat out.
Yeah, we cheated it with the noise effect, but we just wanted it to feel seamless, just as a fan project, but draw the characters on model, and as long as it felt seamless, then we're happy with it. So
yeah. But also that other artist, there was a really big time difference, so there was going to be some challenges there. So it was just
with communication, and stuff,
Yeah. Thank you for trying to have your input, but it's just it may not work out.
Yeah. So working across time zones is a real challenge. That was one thing that on the Rise movie, man, there was one day I had meetings with people in it's 4 or 5 different time zones. And coordinating with that was something I never thought I'd have to do.
Oh man. I've had an interview once where I had to talk to someone in Norway at 11 at night, and it was 8 o'clock in the morning for them or something. And no, it had been later on my end if it was 8 or 10 for them. But it still is it is tricky to work with everyone with different time zones and time differences.
Yeah, but especially if it's I had a meeting, scheduled a meeting with someone in Australia, and I'm wait, we got to coordinate what day this is going to be for each person.
Yeah, no, exactly. But actually, honestly, Emily had started, she did all the animations in 3 months.
Wow.
And then I did all the backgrounds in 3 months.
So collectively 3 months.
Yeah.
And how much footage was it? It's probably a little under a minute.
28.
No, a minute.
Oh wow.
Because when I cut the scenes up, we wanted to respect Kevin's board along with the movie's board. So the only board that wasn't in there, actually 2 parts. The only primary board that wasn't in there was when Mikey was teleported in, but we still wanted to keep that. And there was a one part that Kevin drew. It's when they scream, hot soup. I think each character has their own flashes, but for epilepsy purposes, we did not want to add that in.
Yeah, we're just I don't know if we want to have issues.
Yeah.
And even while we're working, we're oh god, it's strobing so much.
we've been trying to maybe when I have time I can like do a animation reel of the work in process, but when I export it from Procreate, it's really stroby, so I'd have to find a way to make it, because like unfortunately I wish I did this, but unfortunately I didn't keep any of my rough animations before coloring in and everything.
Yeah, Procreate is I hope you don't mind, a bitch to deal with sometimes because there is layer limitations.
Yes, yeah, that too.
Like the last thing I had to do that was huge was when the guys were spinning with Krang and running into the structures on the Technodrome.
Yeah.
I had 7 different seeds or files for that scene, just because of how big it was and how much movement it was.
Wait, so you had like 7 files that you would then have to combine into the one shot?
Yes.
Yep.
Whoa.
Because there's only 10 frames were allowed, because that was the 425 frame,
Yeah.
like 45 to 28 one. And that's just because this is where I kept cursing him. I'm like, why is it moving this much? But I mean, I guess that feels like a norm for you. Like if you're doing an action scene, you add a lot more camera movements, or
Yeah.
I was wondering, how do you guys approach the camera moves? Do you like first do a stabilized and then go for the because like I primarily animate games, so my film experience is a bit different than how you approach it.
It's especially for like a 2D show. And the thing with like a 2D project is that whatever you storyboard has to be animatable. It's a little different for 3D because when you're like moving a camera through a 3D Sentinel, it's a bit different. But like it's kind of you gotta be very clear in your head. All right, what do I want this to ultimately look like? Because that will kind of dictate how you approach it. For example, certain shots, what I'll do is like if it's very active, I'll have just one gigantic layout, and I'll pretty much just draw the entire motion moving all across that layout, and then I'll move my camera to what I've drawn. And that way it's as if I'm a cinematographer who's just now following the action. There's other times where if it's like a more active thing, that Toon Boom has a feature where it's called pin to camera. And so basically like a really basic example is imagine like a video, like a heads up display or something. You want that to be locked wherever that camera is moving. So imagine that kind of, it's locked onto the camera, but you can also apply that to just any kind of storyboarding motion. So like, for example, in Shreddy or Not, I had this beat where Raph and Shredder are like free falling, like kind of down that main cylinder in the lair, and they're fighting to each other. I had them pinned to the camera so that I could just control the camera move. And so in that way, the way I would just draw it, I'm pretty much just imagining how they're moving through space, and then I'm moving the camera to to kind of get them actually moving through the space.
Right.
And so, but I know, like, just having talked with Kevin about how he approaches some of these things, so he's thinking about it on that level, but then there's other times where he's thinking about it like 4 levels deeper. For example, like was it in the movie? There was this one beat where I can't remember what board it was for, but he did the pin to camera, but he actually also like a character is like being thrown towards a building, and he just moved the building towards the character because that was going to be easier for him to control. And so, but it kind of goes back to what I was saying. Like, it's about like having a really clear idea in your head about what that final image, what you want that final image to look like, and then kind of tailoring your method to like what's best to get there. Because there's so many different ways to approach it.
Right. I never thought of it that way, to like reverse the.
Yeah. I actually didn't think about it. It's like they're literally just assets or objects in space moving.
Yeah.
And it's not just like always just camera movement. But you were talking about working with 3D because like.
Oh yeah, you worked on the Transformers. Okay.
Yeah.
So you would work with some 3D assets just to help like with layout or camera movements.
Sometimes, yeah. Actually, it was pretty frequent. What I would do, because I'm not as like, there's some people that actually import the 3D assets into Storyboard Pro and kind of like really interact with 3D on that level. I'm not quite as comfortable with that
Mm.
because it makes the program really heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3D does add to
and
that a lot.
yeah, I find it difficult to control. But like Kevin he's really good at it. He knows it so well.
Yeah, with that building, I was just like, I could do this personally because I do 3D buildings myself, but what the heck? Like, okay, perspective is a lot different here.
I don't know if you heard earlier, but Megan's first approach to the building was just to draw a gigantic, large building, and I immediately told her, no, I can't do that.
That ain't gonna work, man.
No, it's a good idea, but no.
I was gonna cheat somehow.
You give me like a gigantic, like 10,000 by 10,000.
It kind of worked, sort of, not really.
I mean, one of the things I look at a lot, like to kind of really like free my mind about like how much you can achieve on 2D, dude, just watch Akira, like especially the bike scene. But like watch it with your animation compositor like layout hats on, and then like really like sit and look at the scenes in that bike chase and go, wait, how the fuck did they do this under a camera?
Yeah, the parallax.
How did they actually do this?
Yeah,
because it's so intricate and complex, and like there's times where they'll animate background elements.
Yeah,
there's times where they got like a multi-plane camera thing going.
Yeah,
there's times where they're like mixing them all together.
Yeah,
it's unreal.
I know that's such a great reference because
we can slash that tonight.
Yes, I like Akira. It's so kind of like it is mind fuckery.
It's so weird. I love it though.
But I love the animation style. Steam Boy is fun, but of course that's not on the same page. But also like Metropolis is another really good one. But that one does involve a lot more 3D elements into it.
And that's why I'm like, you look at the 80s stuff because it's
I love the
achieve all of that stuff without the use of a computer. They had to actually figure out how this gets filmed under a camera on cells.
That is something I really miss about old animation or old anime is that gritty texture that they have from the cameras. And not complaining about how they are today. It's just like the ones today feel a lot more clean, but I really do miss that. Like if you look at the old Dragon Ball Z, they're kind of not strobing, but they're kind of just wiggling a little bit just because of the line work. But I miss that, and I really like. I mean, I see that you do have a lot of Dragon Ball Z context, so that is one of your biggest inspirations, right?
Just like hint, I've seen that. But like honestly,
throw that in wherever I can.
So you do take a lot of your inspirations from like old like animations and shows or movies that you grew up with?
Oh yeah, I take it from everywhere. A lot of my kind of point of reference is 80s 90s stuff, but then of course I love like Kill la Kill, stuff that's a lot more current like that. So you kind of mix it all together. You get something, hopefully a little fresh.
Yeah. I know recently it's not recent, but I guess Attack on Titan does have a lot of
that's a lot of action,
like really crazy perspective shots with 3D elements.
With action, the action itself is scale. It helps interpret scale a lot more because, honestly, you don't want your scene to feel flat either. No. And if you want to give that sense of grandiose feel to a scene, you make them itty bitty. But then again, of course, you lose that action of that individual character, so you have to do the cuts.
Like I don't know if this is around the same topic, but my latest inspiration has been I forgot his name, but the guy who did Dune, Arrival. Just I really love just visually the sense of scale and weight on every building object. It's just tremendously done. The compositions are just gorgeous. So that's been another inspiration.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude, Dune is like
so
I remember when that trailer dropped. Like I was just fanboying over how crazy it was to Kevin. It captures scale so much.
We were saying that a lot while we were working on this because we were like, it's done.
And then like sometimes if something goes wrong, I'm just like, silence.
I'm like, no. Yeah, we're big nerds.
No, we love movies. Yeah, definitely love our movies. And we also watch a lot of bad movies because it's also like what not to do with films or like how can we avoid this? But there's also guilty.
Oh, absolutely.
Like guilty pleasure movies.
There's like there's a channel I watch called Filmento, and he kind of does like breakdowns of what works in certain movies, and then he'll do other ones where it's like breaking down what doesn't work, or like his favorite series of all time is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh,
and so he has like some videos about like what he loves about the first three, and then other videos breaking down like why, like what went wrong with 4
They're
and
like, what
5. There's 5 of them,
Is
right?
it, wait, so
There's
Filmento?
like 5.
I think there's like 5 or 6 of them, right?
No, like because there's one. There's their son when he's older at the end.
I forgot.
I know this because my parents like watching those movies. My parents were like, "Oh, it's so good. You need to watch it." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay."
Is it good though?
Thanks.
Is it good or is it like you?
I don't know. No, I'm just like I will try, but I'm gonna judge very hard.
If you don't mind, is that spelled Filmento? Filmento?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, it's
that reminds me. You should see.
it's really
Memento.
interesting.
Oh yeah, Memento.
You guys want to
that
hear?
movie's-
You guys want to
that
hear a
movie's
story
wild.
that'll really date me?
Oh, don't
My
worry.
first
I feel like
writing
I've been
job.
dating myself throughout this whole time, so I'm just like, whatever. It's fine. Yeah, go on.
My first writing job was on a sitcom called The Michael Richards Show.
Oh, okay.
It
Oh
was
my God.
Michael Richards after Seinfeld,
Yeah.
and you've never heard of it because it only lasted like 8 episodes.
Oh no.
It was such a train wreck, and so many things went wrong that I literally learned everything not to do when you're creating a show.
This is my list. Let me not actually have any of this on the project I'm working on because I know it's going to go downhill.
Like I'll admit, I've watched movies like Food Fight, The Christmas Tree, Star Wars Christmas Special. It's like, don't do this.
Oh,
but
man.
you still have to sit through it.
God, Star Wars one. We were in the middle of like completing a scene. I was like jamming out, and I was like, oh, let's put on some movies because May the 4th, May 4th, whatever.
Yeah.
Came up, and we were watching Star Wars films, and that came out of nowhere. And she's like, oh, you want to see some snippets of it? I was like, oh God, what am I looking at?
I showed her the cooking portion of Star Wars Christmas Special. I looked at her, and it looked like her soul had left her body. And I'm like, all right, I'll turn it off so you're back to life again.
Like, no.
And the first time I saw it was like, first time I saw the holiday special, I knew nothing about it other than it's the legend that it was awful.
Oh no!
And so like I had no idea that the first 10 minutes of it was going to be watching like Chewbacca and his family just growl at each other without subtitles.
They didn't have subtitles. Yeah, I know. Try and survive that, guys, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, Mark Hamill, he just looked like Ken. I'm just like, what happened? I mean, to give him credit, it was after his accident.
Right,
so I get
right,
that.
Yeah.
But also, I'm just like,
We actually tried to put a reference to it once in a Star Wars show. Russ and I were writing for a Lego Star Wars show, and we tried to put a reference in, and they would not let us. They would not let you reference that.
It's like it does not
Wow.
exist. It doesn't exist.
That's hilarious.
We don't speak of that.
No, you do
It's
not
pretty
speak
much the
of that.
attitude.
No.
It's like Voldemort. It's like, no, you do not speak.
That must not be named.
That must not be named.
If you speak it, you will it into existence.
No. Oh my God.
Happy Life Day, I guess.
Oh, jeez.
That's what it was. It was actually with Life Day. We were going to use the term Life Day, and they wouldn't let us.
Come on.
Yeah.
Why don't you just call it Death Day?
Death, oh no. It has died. It has killed many souls and happiness. Jeez. But yeah, no, it just shows you like, yeah, whatever you grow up with does influence a lot. Because like the other thing too that Emma brought up with Ron earlier, we're like, was there a lot of Evangelion?
Yeah, we brought this up with Ron. Like, whose idea was it to throw in all those Evangelion references?
Oh, that's Chris. That's Chris Luke.
Because like we obviously grew up with that too, and we're watching it. I'm like, I don't know if kids should look up where it's from.
Yeah,
Not yet.
definitely not.
I mean, we recently did see the movie, Evangelion movie in the theaters, and it was like,
Actually, I wasn't there for that one, but
you did. Oh, I was there. Yeah, I saw it in theaters.
The-
It was
I
like,
wasn't there for
The end
that
of Evangelion? Or the new ones?
end of Evangelion, and like it was tremendous. Like that
Oh.
fight sequence with the amazing
Yeah.
sense of weight. That one fight was great, but everything else is just creepy. Like it was beautiful, but I hate it.
That movie's wild. The ending of that movie, like nothing can prepare you for the end of that movie.
My first time seeing it, I was like recovering from school because I was like, I just finished school, and Emily's like, oh, let's watch this. I'm like, okay, sure. We watched it, and literally right after, I'm like, can we watch something happy? Like, can I just? And then my version of happy was watching Cowboy Bebop because I'm just like, it makes sense at least to me. It makes me feel better. I don't literally feel sick to my stomach. What happened?
man, the more Evangelion references I see in shows today, like the more happy I
You're
am.
like, yes.
Yeah, because that has definitely been an inspiration for me.
But then I'm just like, oh, it's our generation here. Because well, now too, like I feel like we all are kind of close to the same age. Talking to people part of the fan base, and I start talking about like, oh yeah, it's referencing this and that, and they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, oh no, they don't know what I'm talking about. Oh no, I'm not that old.
And I see some people in here are part of that group. You know what I'm talking about.
Are you guys of the age where you were watching like Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z
I
on
grew up with Dragon Ball,
Toonami?
And Ninja Scroll. Ninja Scroll's cool back then. And that's why I said TMNT. I grew up with the original TMNT.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I'm as old as TMNT.
But yeah, you were born in the year the toys came out.
Yeah. At the end, at the very end of that year. But
I guess I have one quick question because I asked Ron this earlier too. Like, do you have any critiques?
And Ron literally just shut us down. Like,
I just laughed when they asked me this question, JJ. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Any favorite or bad moments that you're like, oh, could improve there? You know, like.
It looked pretty good to me. I haven't gone frame by frame through it, but it moves. Like it all moves.
He's like, hey, the camera movement, no, it's not really working for you.
That's the beautiful thing about animation is that those drawings, they just need to move. You don't need to pause on them. Yeah. You look at my storyboards, there's some panels where it's like unintelligible. But it's only on there for a couple of frames because it's just kind of conveying.
It's an in between. It's okay. It's a drawing. Just go with it.
I think for me, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, I was talking with some of the lead animators from Flying Bark, and they watched it and they were like super pumped and really excited about it.
They just kind of punched us in the gut here. Like, oh god, no. I was so like nervous to show this work because I'm like, I don't professionally do background art. I do 3D work primarily. And
that's actually unbelievable because the backgrounds are
she nailed
really
it.
good.
Yeah, she did a great job.
It's seamless.
It was just literally like I am like every time I would start a scene, I'm like panicking internally. Like, am I gonna make this look like shit? Is it gonna be okay? How am I gonna get the look of this?
We're really hard on ourselves.
Well, it's just because like you want these to fit in well enough, and but then I do have a personal style I normally paint in, and that generally is like I love to throw in so much color in. But then again, I'm like, this is the most limited palette I've worked with, even though it ranged from like the yellow oranges to reds to fuchsias and purples. So it's all analogous. And every time when I started explaining about that process, I'm just like, I am such a nerd about color. All I kept talking about was
how did you approach breaking down like how to emulate the style?
Well, you kind of split it up into 3 parts.
Well, how I emulated the style actually.
Oh, no, you had a different approach to it.
Yeah, like more or less, like I watched the film, I took screenshots. I somewhat studied it, like especially that fight sequence because like earlier on in the film and even in the show and series, there's a lot of that dot matrix look with the lights. Yeah. And there was an establishing shot right before this where there's a dot matrix. It's very graphic, very brushy. And there was the mix of like the neon, like blue, like the greens, yellow greens with the purples and fuchsias. So I'm just like, but the fight sequence is actually super dusty. It's very, very dusty. So I had to kind of approach that texture style very much more softer. Even though I had trouble with the Technodrome at first. I had started.
I think she painted it and stopped for 2 months.
Yeah, I had stopped for 2 months because I legit was like, I can't. It was getting really tricky to find the reference looking up, the up shot, until we actually looked at the film again. I'm like, oh, there it is. Like that's why I knew it. But then I'm like, it's such a slimy, hard lit piece. Like, I have all the tentacles and all that. But for me, I'm like, I don't have the render style, the brushy, like softness, like the film has. So if I go super hard, it'll just stand out too much. Yeah. So it just kind of came down to like, let me play around with it a bit, make sure the color and lighting and shapes work. And I generally stuck to basically 2 brushes throughout this whole process.
And this is Procreate also, right?
It's all
Background
Procreate.
Wow.
And when I did my first initial color script, it was a lot more just neutral. It was very yellow and like orangey. And I'm like, oh, in the end, it gets a little purple. But as I kept working on it, I'm like, no,
It's purple all the way
it
around.
actually needs to actually go. It has to have that much more contrast to the beginning to the end, because anything that is influenced by the crane has to be that fuchsia and purple with the red, no matter what, because it's supposed to be threatening.
Right. I remember this one because like something that we both did a lot is like, you know, Megan would pick when we pick backgrounds, and as I'm positing, sometimes things will look too cut out. I forget which shot it was. I told her like the landscape cuts out or sticks out too much with the backgrounds, so I literally just took, you know, the mouse pad and just drew a soft white little brush stroke for the background. I'm like, see, there you go, fixed.
You're like, I painted this. Yeah, I guess you did.
I give credit for this background now.
After that scene was the panning scene with. No, that wasn't the panning.
It wasn't the panning.
It was the panning scene when they were going up the Technodrome.
Okay. Yeah. So like,
one of them.
We definitely
But actually studying the smoke was really tricky because there's so many different influences. And like I said, lighting is really a big factor as well as the dust. Because like once you're in open space, you have more diffuse light and dust. So it's going to be washed out a lot more and blend in more. But once it's up against a building, it has to have a lot more contrast. So of course it's going to be darker and influenced by shadows.
I think
other lights.
Yeah. The first time we discovered this was the shot where Raph and Donnie joined the fight, and it's really funny because, you know, Kevin kept it like this in his storyboard, so I'm gonna respect it. You know, if you go through it frame by frame, Raph basically T poses as he's running towards the building. And Donnie is just the same pose on one leg, but he runs through it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have him T pose because this is great. He just glitches and runs towards the building.
Every time I see that, it's like,
it kills me. And when I gave it to Megan said, "Well, let's paint it to make it look like they're jumping through the clouds." So this is when Megan.
So I added. Sometimes I would get her animations in her Procreate files, and then I would add my layers, and I would do like an overlay layer to influence the characters.
Yeah.
Because also like with all the effects with the mystic effects, I actually influenced a lot of the environments and animated the lights.
Yeah, so Megan was primarily in charge of the smoke and environments and backgrounds. I animated the mystic effects and the characters. Yeah, so I guess from an animations point of view, it was like I mentioned yesterday too. I'm gonna sound repetitive here, but like capturing the turtles, like, you know, they're all perspective drawings, so I had to like really make sure they kind of still look on model, because of course I have my own take on them, but I really wanted to capture them looking on models with little things like how their tattoos, I'm just gonna call it tattoos, like how they glow. And the whole time Megan and I kept telling each other we have to make them really, really pissed off. Like this is the last battle. Make them as angry as you can. And anger. What was it? It was just really fun, just drawing in perspective. Like their legs are so tiny. Especially when they're drawing. When they're far, really, really far away.
They're all starfish.
Yeah, I call them the starfish pose. Like one of my favorites. If you go through frame by frame, this is when Leo throws, I think, the truck at him. He teleports with the truck, right? Like they change positions. But
I love that beat.
The music. I'm gonna go into the music later. There's like one frame where he teleports with the truck and he just turns into a starfish. And that's my favorite. But the music, oh my gosh, I'm still floored by how the music syncs up with, like, we didn't change that. I don't know how Kevin synced up with the same, you know, or how this music just worked with him. It was, I have no words.
I mean, I guess to kind of not segue, but sort of relate. Smother her with a pillow. Semi related to that, because with storyboarding and animation, there's beats and movements. Are there times actually you do work with like music to work out like, oh, it should feel like this sort of movement and timing goes or happens here with like a sequence?
I know Kevin is super influenced by music.
So maybe he was influenced by a certain beat.
And it could have been the same beat, because that one where he throws the truck, like almost actually a lot of the parts, they really hit the beat.
Actually sync up with the timing.
Quite well, and we're just like, you know, we spent 3 hours finding a song, and this is probably the second or third song.
This was the second song we downloaded in the beginning. 3 hours later, like, hey, why don't we visit that song again?
Yeah, because all the royalty-free songs sounded like Apple products, like introducing the new iPhone 20.
Something in the background of an iPad commercial that's crushing creativity.
honestly, and my favorite part of the animation was really actually drawing Krang was really good. He was incredibly intimidating.
Super fun.
He's so fun. Like he was really difficult
Yeah.
to study, but as soon as I broke him down into his different pieces, I'm like, he's really not that hard. He's just a little alien dude who wants to fit in.
He's a gummy guy. That's how
I had a ton of fun drawing him.
Krang Titan was really hard to draw. I don't need to tell you, Krang Titan was hard to draw, especially that headdress with the 5 point, the 5 things sticking out. I had the hardest time drawing that thing.
For
Oh
me,
my
it was
god!
the shoulder pads. I'm like, so are they ice cream scoops, or are they are they hard shoulder pads? It was really difficult to capture, but I just kind of well, you know what? Here are my rules. We'll just stick with it throughout the whole thing, and it's just
that's why I just do rough drawings. I said a story. I just do rough drawings and then hand it to one of my board artists. Say, hey, flesh this out.
Here it is. Draw the rest of the horse.
It's like literally a stick
make
figure.
this terrible drawing look good.
Yeah, no, it kind of reminds me when I did a little demo of how I was painting Smoke to some other artists they're working on an intro project to reanimate thing, and I was like, oh, this is the Crane, it's literally a stick figure. Yay, he's angry. Scary Crane.
He's fun. I love drawing. It was really fun to just give each animator their own little moment. Oh my god, give each turtle their moment.
I'm just like, how many personalities do you have?
A lot. It was just so fun. Like Mikey's chain was just a cheap little chain brush that I did and incrementally scaled them.
Yeah. Amazing.
Bloom Effect was a good friend for all the effects. I loved it.
We use Bloom a lot.
Everywhere. Yeah.
It's a very glowy piece.
Of course, there's so many scenes where I wish. I think it was 3 days before our deadline, I noticed I forgot to draw Donnie on top of Raph on some scenes.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, I gotta go back and draw him in every single scene again. So he's very starfish posy in some of those shots because I just had to get him done as fast as I can.
Yeah, you know what? We all reach that point where I'm like, oh yeah, there's a deadline and I need to hit it. Time to compromise.
Yeah. That's kind of like what.
Time to learn the definition of good enough.
Yeah, good enough.
Is there a typo in the intro? Yep, I totally didn't see it.
There is.
It says we're in no way afflicted with the brand Nickelodeon. And I was like, no.
Well, you know what? That sounds accurate.
And even I'm asking me okay, does that actually make sense? I'm like, well, it kind of works. Sure. So it's okay.
There are worse ways.
I mean, it makes it sound like Nickelodeon's a disease, but if that's what you're trying to say.
If they ask us, we're just like, no, please. I was tired.
But yeah, we brought that up too with Ron earlier about we would have worked on this longer just to polish it out even more.
It could be 3 years if you wanted it.
Yeah, but it has to be just done. Yeah. You have to just find a space that you're like, I'm done. I'm good. I'm happy with the results with what I got. Yes, it could be better, but it's done.
There's always room to. This is something I tell a lot of artists, and I'm sure you might agree. If you think you're good enough at something, you're actually not. You should just keep improving and honing that skill.
Yeah, there's always room for growth, no matter what.
Oh yeah, it's really accurate.
What are some tips that you have for because I don't animate a lot of action scenes. Sorry.
Last year.
Yeah.
How to you mentioned to study more action scenes, right? What are some ways that you have practiced with applying those studies to a fresh new drawing from scratch?
What one exercise a friend of mine gave me when I was just starting out as a revisionist was he had this exercise where he would spend it's just a half hour every morning tracing drawings.
Oh.
And the idea, and for him, it was all about finding trying to find a storyboard artist looser drawings. And so it was the loose drawings, because those are the lines where you can see how they're thinking. Because once you get once you're going into cleanup, it kind of obscures the thought. Right. If you're skilled, or if you have a lot of knowledge of drawing, you can look at the cleanup and understand how that's all emphasizing the construction and all that stuff.
And the gesture itself too, the line of action.
Yeah. But with those rough drawings, that's where all of kind of the engine under the hood, so to speak, is all really easily visible. And so he would trace those, but really specifically trying to copy every single line that artist made,
Wow.
and trying to understand, like, say to himself or ask himself, like, what are they trying to communicate with this line? Why did they do this line? And it's really all about trying to get into that artist's head, and then you do that for like half hour, an hour before you start drawing. And then once you're drawing, you try to force yourself to make those same decisions. And that way it helps you start thinking in the way of the artist that you want to emulate.
Wow. Okay.
And then when you start working like that, you start to kind of absorb it, and it kind of gets integrated into your own personal style.
Ooh. Okay. I definitely know what scene I want to start with. it's one of my favorite fighting scenes from the show. Probably pretty obvious. It's the ladders scene, the fish and ladders. The one with Donnie, climbing up the ladder while throwing the ladder. Because to me that really emulates oddly Lupin the Third. He just breaks all physics, and he's swimming in midair, and I'm like, I completely I love that movie, Castle Cagliostro. That is just one of my favorites.
It's
that's a really good one.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a lot of movies
That
to watch
movie's
tonight.
so
I
excellent.
guess we do. But no, that makes a lot of sense because, as an artist, your first lesson in learning how to draw actual figures is gestures. Draw the gesture of the figure and how the action flows through that figure before you get to construction.
Yeah.
Because it's going to look super stiff. It's not going to actually feel like actually having form to the character. And that's what we generally tell a lot of artists or animations or animators, like, rough it up, like, rough it out. You don't, shush. Like, oh, you were laughing over here.
I didn't say anything.
I was like, rough it up.
Do you see the duo here now? I need to make drawings of this later. I need to make the Disaster Twins drawing, or someone can do that. It's very clear once people talk to us who's who.
Yeah.
It's not intentional. You keep telling that to people. They're like, really? I'm like, no, I'm not copying anyone. It's just me.
I think Ben Schwartz for that too, for adding that kind of character. All the voice actors, they did such a tremendous job bringing the characters to life as well, along with the tremendous art.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I mean, when you have voice tracks like that, it makes your job a lot easier because like there's just so much like life, expression, personality in those performances, and so it really like they are alive, and it makes it so much easier to just bring that life out of it.
Yeah, they define the character a bit more. Like, Ron brought up how a lot of the actors were improvising a lot. And the characters were kind of being more written based off of their own quirks too, which it does kind of give them more life and say, like, here's just a voice with a character, and it's not like the character. So
I mean, I feel like Baron Draxum is one of the examples where, like, I feel like that is a character who would be an extremely different character with a different voice.
Oh yeah,
because I feel like there's a certain there's almost like a, I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but you know how like when Tim Curry plays a villain, there's just something like delicious in the performance. He relishes being bad, and there's that delicious flamboyance in it. Like John Cena brought that to Draxum, and like I feel like that is something that he really brought, and then as a result, that, I mean, at least for me, that influenced how I approach any Baron Draxum scene.
Yeah, it's like, this is him. This is how he would be.
We were talking about this yesterday. Yeah. One of our favorite subtle Baron Draxum moments is, I think it was not Inside the Mama's Train. The Bugbusters. Is when he shows up in the background behind the window. He draws a perfect circle on the glass window, but then he just breaks it. Why did you draw a circle?
I think that defeated the purpose.
It's so fast, but I love that little detail.
It's like
that scene is Chris Luke. You get that one.
Sorry, we're not calling out yours.
No, it's funny. I love it.
Chris is super funny. Like when he pitched that episode, I was like crying. Like there's a scene where like Leo's in the vents. Oh my god. Yeah.
What was the part again?
Oh my god. Just that's exactly that Die Hard part where Leo's like crawling through the vents. Like dude, I was laughing so hard that I was like crying.
Yeah, Die Hard is like my favorite movie, so
Yeah.
that had to be in there. But the other actor who I think really influenced a lot was Lena Headey for
Yeah.
Mama, where
Yeah.
basically what we had heard about her was that she's kind of a goofball in person, and that kind of inspired us to do the whole, that way of talking that she has with that sort of made up, silly, super those kind of words.
Big words. Real words.
That's funny.
And I think also John Lydon, who's Meat Sweats, he basically wrote that for him.
Oh man, yeah.
When I first saw,
dude, he was exceptional.
When I first saw Meat Sweats, I'm like, is it gonna be like Gordon Ramsay? Like, oh no, far from it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you the story. Actually, the first time he came in to record, because everybody was like, oh, bringing musicians to record, it's risky. And we were like, but we both loved him. Russ and I both really loved him. So we were like, yeah, we're trying this. And so he was late and his contract hadn't been signed yet. And there was all this stuff. And he came in and he told us about how nervous he gets when he's about to perform. And everybody's sort of like, oh no, is this going to be like a confused disaster? And then he gets behind the mic and like the first word out of his mouth, I was like, oh yeah, he's a rock star. He's literally a rock star. And you realize, he's going to nail this. And he did. He was really great.
Well, it's like we're all human. It doesn't matter. It's like we all get nervous from time to time. And
actually, very genuinely nervous. I mean, it's almost sweet.
Oh, and then it's humbling too. It's like you're this big name, big like hotshot kind of guy, and yet you are terrified to do this.
You're a human.
No, he is human.
Hey guys, I gotta run, but no, seriously, like, congratulations. It was such an amazing piece of work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It really means a lot to me. I know it sounds cliche, but really, like, no words can really express how much you inspired us. I keep tagging you guys over. I'm like, sorry for spamming, but like everyone on the crew has inspired us. And I want to watch.
What's the phrase? Pictures worth 1,000 words, and you guys probably drew like 5,000 pictures.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, Ron and JJ for just spending time, today on a beautiful Saturday. And there are a lot of questions under chat. I'm sorry, I don't think I can go through and answer all of them. But
I think, doesn't it stay up? And
I think this recording will be saved.
See you guys.
Have a good one. Yeah.
Okay, see you, JJ.
Sounded like you're just on a hike the whole time.
I think he was.
Yeah. I don't think we can probably there are so many questions through this.
I've actually been going through and answering some of the questions. There's a few I've missed, but if you want, I'll try to.
And I think this might be recorded. And I think it's I don't use Twitter Space a lot, but
like when you were saying like I can't get my mic working, I'm like I don't even know how this is working. But,
I believe it'll stay up online for a bit.
It should stay up, and I think this would still be a good like thread for people if they want.
Yeah, for sure. I won't delete this at all. And apologies to who was it?
You were saying that one person.
Yeah, someone said we had interrupted.
We accidentally talked over.
It was about what killed the Krang. We apologize if we talked over Ron. I think we came to the conclusion that Krang died, or not, the other Krangs died via time or killing each other.
Or killing.
Yeah, no, I didn't notice you talked over me, but that's fine. No big deal.
But
apologies for that. I can't find their name, but Red Angel of Preventing Harm.
Yeah. Right. But I also believe we are going to have another chat later
if Germs is available.
If Germs is available, because of course we wanted to thank him for, me personally thanking him for inspiration with all the art. Because
I love his painting tutorials; they're so fast.
It's like, dude, this is how it goes. I'm like, all right.
I think if I were ever to talk to Kevin, I'd just been like, "Why? What's with your affection with debris?
Why do you like pain? Why do you like suffering? Like, come on." Because I don't know how one person could do all of this, and I don't even. I'll message JJ later, but I was gonna ask, like, how long does it normally, like, what's the time frame for the storyboard artist for that one shot? Because it is so extensive that
I mean. Kevin would just go crazy. I remember the first board he turned in for, an 11-minute episode was just like 4,000 frames. Nobody does this.
You might as well just have the whole thing,
Yeah, and then everybody else, like that was the thing they had to follow, because I think he boarded the first one. So, like, it was just crazy. The guy sets a really high standard for himself.
Oh man.
It's like, do you sleep?
Yeah,
Do you
he has a
eat?
lot of time.
Do we need to be concerned about you right now?
Yeah, sometimes I wonder,
Oh my God. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think no matter what, everything was just inspiring, and it just makes me feel like you guys are crazy people.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yes.
Because even Emily's like, "Don't call him crazy." I'm like, "I'm not saying
I
in a bad
didn't say that.
way."
I don't.
I'm just saying, like, not in a bad way, because I'm just like, I feel crazy for doing this, but we're doing it. Let's do it.
Well, we stuck with this since November, and I am glad it's over, but it is very bittersweet. And
I'm ready. I'm a workaholic already, working on other stuff later. So got other projects. But we could wrap this up. So you spent quite amount of time with us.
Thank you so much. Like, I really.
Well, thanks for hosting, guys. I'll try to go through and answer a few more of these questions.
And thank you for everyone who hopped in and listened.
And
congratulations again. What you guys did is really an amazing accomplishment. You should be.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Much love and hugs. The digital hug. I'm doing the heart gesture. I don't know why,
what
but
are you doing?
we do that at work.
All right.
All right. You have a good one.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Bye bye.